Hello, this is an anatomy study session I did over the course of 2 days, which I recorded a couple months back but never had the chance to edit it nor upload it to YouTube until today. So the references I used were Figure Drawing for All It's Worth by Andrew Loomis and Michael Hampton's Analytical Figure Drawing, which are free, by the way. You can find them on the internet. So if you want to study along with me, feel free to do so. Anyways, before I started my study session, I always like to start with a quick warm-up, and I did a figure drawing warm-up using the Neo Masters Academy figure drawing session, which you can also find on YouTube for free. And this first study that I did was from Figure Drawing for All It's Worth. I love Andrew Loomis. I love this book. I've probably studied this multiple times now. I've lost count of how many times I've come back to this book because it's just so good. And that's how much I love Andrew Loomis. He's probably one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to drawing anatomy, especially drawing the female figure. And I don't know, it's just one of my comfort books, comfort anatomy books. I don't really know what to call it, but whenever I feel like doing a study session or when I feel like, damn, my anatomy sucks, I just come back to this book and then I feel rejuvenated. I feel like, yeah, I've got some of that mojo back again. I always learn something new whenever I come back to this book, and yeah, I feel like there's always just something new to learn about anatomy, which is why I love learning it, or why I love drawing it so much. And I actually don't remember what my goal was with this study, but considering what I'm drawing here, I was probably focusing on drawing the male figure mostly because I'm not very confident when it comes to drawing the male figure. I wouldn't say that I'm terrible at drawing it, it's just that I don't have the same confidence drawing the male figure compared to drawing the female figure, and I just want to be able to draw muscly men with abs and huge biceps, I want to be able to draw that kind of stuff straight out of my imagination, which is why I decided to tackle my weakness, which is the male figure, specifically muscly, burly men. Anyways, here I am doing a study of the arm muscles because when I drew the pose earlier, I realized, wow, I suck at arms, so I decided to do a study of the arms. Anyways, story time. Looking at muscles gives me PTSD of my first year in uni when I had to learn anatomy. I mean, anatomy was one of my favorite courses that I ever took during first year because it was one of the subjects that had some relation to art, because whatever I learned in anatomy class, I could apply in my own art, and I found that really fun and enjoyable. And anatomy, I think, is not, how do I say this, conceptually hard to learn. It is just very physically taxing because there's a lot to memorize, especially with the muscles. I found learning the skeletal system, the skeleton, to be easy peasy, like a no-brainer. It was good, alright? Like, I was pretty confident learning the skeleton. But when it got to the muscles, I wanted to jump off a cliff. That was a nightmare for me. I do not want to relive that day, that year, ever again, just because muscles is they're the bane of my existence, I swear to God. Because when we were learning the muscular system, not only did we have to memorize the names of all these muscles, we had to learn where they would insert, we had to learn where they originated from, we had to learn what each of their actions was, what muscles would oppose those actions, or what we call antagonists, what muscles were synergistic. I think, talking about it just makes me want to jump off a cliff. Like, I think I'm gonna physically vomit on my screen right now. This is terrible. This is terrible for me. Anyways, learning the muscles, not very fun. The skeleton, I love the skeleton. Like, yeah, I'd take that shit over the muscular system any day, any other day, dude. But yeah, that was my story time for the day. That's it. This next study that I'm doing is from Michael Hampton's Analytical Figure Drawing, and I swear this book is a gold mine of information. If you're an artist who's just starting out learning anatomy or is new to figure drawing in general, I highly, highly recommend you study this book. And even if you're not a beginner, there's still a lot of information that you can find useful, or there's still a lot of stuff that you can learn from this book. And I swear, if I just had learned about this book early on in my drawing journey, it would have made such a big difference, and it would have made learning anatomy so much easier, because this book simplifies anatomy for you. It breaks it down into simple shapes, into easily digestible, understandable information, and it's amazing. I love this book. It's great. I recommend it. There's also Bridgman, which is recommended a lot to beginners because it's simplified into blocks, so it makes anatomy less overwhelming, I suppose. So that's something that you could also perhaps check out if you're a beginner to learning anatomy. And I highly recommend this as well. It's Michael Hampton's Analytical Figure Drawing. I will repeat, check it out if you are a beginner, because it makes anatomy so much more approachable, less intimidating, and you will have the time of your life. Anatomy will be much more fun once you start studying this book. I swear. I promise. And if that's not the case for you, you can come back to this video and you can pick a fight with me and tell me that was not the case, and Yeah, feel free to punch me in the face, okay? Okay. as a culmination of this study session, I decided to do some studies of poses I got off from Pinterest to apply all of my learnings. And when drawing the figure, I basically followed the process that Michael Hampton describes in his Analytical figure drawing book, which is to first draw the gesture of the pose and to focus on telling a story with the pose and worrying about the proportions later, and then adding in the rough shapes and landmarks of the body, then adding in volume, and then adding in perspective. And I feel like perspective was really what elevated my poses to the next level, or what really took these figure drawings to the next level, because when I used to draw anatomy or poses back then, I would just kind of brush off perspective to the side. I would think, oh, it's not as important as being anatomically correct or looking anatomically correct. But now I realize that perspective does play a huge part, and I feel like that really leveled up my figure drawing or anatomy drawing skills. So thank you, Michael Hampton. I learned a lot. And when it comes to drawing hands, which I do find that I struggle with, because sometimes they can look really stiff for me, and I always struggle with that. But he suggests that when drawing hands, you first work out the gesture the same way you would draw out the gesture of the pose, and then you place in straight lines for the bones, and then of course you build in, or you add in, the cylinders for perspective. And I felt like that really made a huge difference in the way my arms looked. Not my arms, but you know, when it comes to figure drawing, it just looks so much more alive and less stiff than how I would usually draw it, and that really changed my whole process for drawing arms. I love it. It's my new way of drawing arms, and I'm obsessed. Okay, what else have I learned? Oh yeah, biggest thing I've learned also is focusing on pose readability, making sure that the pose still makes sense, or you can tell what this person is doing even from afar, and also focusing or practicing on line economy, which is basically, you know, appropriately using hard, soft, and sharp lines on where they should be. For example, you use hard or more sharp lines at a place where there is an angle, like the shoulder, or where there is bone, and soft lines for more chubbier places, I suppose, where there is fat. And this last pose, by the way, is just a pose I did from imagination. I would have drawn more from imagination, but my hand, or like my wrist, was hurting, and I decided, you know what, it's time for a break. Knowing when to take a break is also very important, guys. Remember that. But yeah, that's pretty much my study session. Despite all that, I still somehow can't compete with a master artist, which is my younger brother. This is his rendition of Gojo Satoru, and whoever this guy is, I don't know. But yeah, he's the true genius, the prodigy, and I am merely a failure compared to him. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye!